Welcome everyone. So today we will be sharing with you our top headlines for the past week, which may or may not have an impact on your life directly, but it would definitely have substantial information which you must not ignore. So let's dive right into it. Due to climate change, 190 nations and organizations had vowed to quit coal at the COP26 summit took place in the United Kingdom. Signatories to the agreement have committed to ending all investments in new coal power generations domestically and internationally. But some of the world's biggest coal-dependent countries, including Australia, India, China, and the US, did not sign up to the pledge. They have also agreed to phase out coal power in the 2030s for major economies and 2040s for poorer nations. Though it is a small victory in the fight against climate change, but activists tend to believe that the end of coal is in sight. A court in Myanmar on Wednesday rejected the bail application of Danny Fenster, an American journalist jailed for the past 5 months. Fenster had already been charged with incitement for allegedly spreading false or inflammatory information, an offense punishable by up to 3 years in prison. He is also charged with violating the Unlawful Association Act for alleged links to illegal opposition groups, which carries a possible 2 to 3 year prison term. The court's actions comes during a visit to Myanmar by Bill Richardson, a former US ambassador to the United Nations. UNICEF has announced that it is going to set up a system that will facilitate indirectly funding teachers in the war-torn Afghanistan without channeling the money to the country's de facto authorities like the Taliban. Afghanistan has already remained plunged in economic misery since several international organizations, including the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund (IMF), seized loans. The United States has also stopped over 9 billion reserves to the country's central bank. Although the Islamist militant group has been advocating for international recognition of its interim government in Afghanistan, incidents of utter oppression and brutality during their earlier regime in the 90s have most countries to do so, including US President Joe Biden, who had also come under severe backlash following his decision to pull out troops from Afghanistan earlier this year. The Biden administration announced on Wednesday that it is putting new export limits on 2 Israeli hacker-for-hire companies, including the well-known spyware company NSO Group, saying their tools have been used to conduct transnational repression. Based on the leak targeting data, findings by a global media consortium earlier this year provided evidence that the spyware from NSO Group was allegedly used to infiltrate devices belonging to a range of targets, from politicians to celebrities and businessmen in more than 50 countries. Former FIFA president Sepp Blatter and his ex-UEFA counterpart Michael Platini have been charged with fraud in Switzerland. It follows a 6-year investigation into a payment of 2 million Swiss francs, 1.6 million from FIFA to Platini. Blatter, 85, and French football legend Platini, 65, could now face a trial within months. In addition to being charged with fraud, Blatter has been charged with mismanagement, misappropriation of FIFA funds, and forgery of a document. Platini has been charged with fraud, misappropriation, forgery, and as an accomplice to Blatter's alleged mismanagement. A much-anticipated assessment of human rights violations and atrocities committed in the war in northern Ethiopia is likely to intensify concerns centering on this nasty and increasingly intractable conflict. The UN Human Rights Chief used the phrase extreme brutality to describe horrifying incidents during the year-long war in the region of Tigray. In a joint report compiled by the UN and the state-appointed Ethiopian Human Rights Commission, the authors found all the parties to the conflict in Tigray have committed violations of international human rights, humanitarian and refugee laws, some of which may amount to war crimes and crimes against humanity. A bird flu prevention zone has been declared across the UK to stop the spread of the disease among poultry and other birds. People with more than 500 birds inside the avian influenza prevention zone must restrict access for non-essential people change clothing and footwear before entering enclosures, and vehicles must be cleaned and disinfected regularly. Even backyard owners with a small number of birds, including chicken, ducks, and geese, are advised to take action to limit the risk and keep watch for signs of disease. India gets its first points thrashing Afghanistan to stay alive in the T20 World Cup. India, who came in as hot favorites but crashed to 2 straight losses, needed to win their remaining 3 games and depend on others for their entry in the semis. The tournament's highest total proved too much for Afghanistan, who finished on 144 by 7 in 20 overs. China on Tuesday accused the US of a lack of transparency and responsibility regarding an accident in the South China Sea involving a Navy submarine last month. At a daily briefing, Foreign Ministry spokesman of China said the US should provide full details of the incident that has revived a dispute between the two countries over the strategic waterway. 2 US Navy officials said the service had determined the nuclear-powered USS Connecticut struck a seamount or underwater mountain, but the Chinese Foreign Ministry described what he called a lack of transparency and responsibility by the US in the following up with the incident. US internet services company Yahoo said on Tuesday that it has pulled out of mainland China, becoming the latest tech firm to withdraw as a crackdown by Beijing. The move comes just days after American gaming giant Epic said it will shut its popular game Fortnite following the imposition of strict curbs on the world's biggest gaming market. Beijing has embarked on a wide-ranging regulatory clampdown on a number of industries in a drive to tighten its control of the economy, with tech firms taking the brunt. The push has seen a number of US-based companies withdraw major products from China in recent weeks, with Microsoft in October announcing the closure of its career-oriented social network LinkedIn.